Why are Python REST API requests getting CORS errors? Imagine you're trying to connect your Python script to a web API, but suddenly you see a message saying there's a cross-origin resource sharing error. That can be confusing, especially if your code runs perfectly outside the browser. Let's break down what's happening and how to fix it. When you write Python scripts to interact with REST application programming interfaces, or REST APIs, you usually don't face CORS errors. That's because CORS is a browser security feature. It stops web pages from making requests to different websites without permission. If your web page is hosted at one address and tries to access data from another, the browser checks if the server allows it. If not, it blocks the request and shows a CORS error. But when you run a Python script on your computer, it's not a browser doing the requesting. Python can send requests to any API without restrictions. The problem comes when you're building a web application with a front end, like HTML and JavaScript, that needs to talk to a Python backend. For example, if your front end runs at localhost 3000 and your Python server is at localhost 5000, even though both are on your computer, they are considered different origins because of the ports. Browsers see this as a cross-origin request. If your Python server doesn't tell the browser it's okay to share data with that origin, the request gets blocked. The most common CORS error is when the server response doesn't include the header called access control allow origin. This header tells the browser which websites are allowed to access the data. If it's missing or set incorrectly, the browser blocks the request. Sometimes, the server sends more than one access control allow origin header, which is invalid. Only one header is allowed, and it should specify a specific origin or use an asterisk to allow all origins. But allowing all origins is not recommended for production because it can be a security risk. Another thing to watch out for is when you open your HTML files directly from your computer using the FAIL protocol. Browsers block API requests in this case because FAIL protocol is not considered a proper origin. Also, if your request uses special headers or methods other than GET, POST, or HEAD, the browser sends a pre-flight options request first. If your server doesn't respond correctly to this pre-flight, the actual request will be blocked. To fix CORS issues in your Python backend, you need to set the right headers. If you're using Flask, you can add the Flask CORS extension. It's simple to install and configure. For example, you can allow all origins with CORS app, or specify only certain domains for better security. If you're using FastAPI, you can import CORS middleware from FastAPI middleware CORS and add it to your app, setting the allowed origins. Django developers can use Django CORS headers to handle CORS. Just add it to your middleware and specify which origins are allowed. During development, it's common to allow all origins to test your app easily. But in production, you should restrict access to only trusted domains. When debugging CORS errors, check if your frontend and backend are on different origins. Remember, different ports or protocols like HTTP and HTTPS count as different origins. Make sure your Python server is sending the correct CORS headers in its responses. Test your setup by serving your frontend through a web server, not just opening the HTML file directly. And for requests that involve custom headers or methods, confirm your server handles options requests properly. To sum up, CORS errors happen in the browser when a web page tries to access an API on a different origin. Python scripts outside the browser don't face these restrictions. To avoid these errors, configure your Python backend to send the right headers and test your setup with a real web server. Understanding how CORS works helps you build web applications that communicate smoothly and securely with your Python APIs.